Have you ever locked eyes with a stranger and felt a sudden jolt because they looked exactly like you? It's a moment of pure shock, almost unsettling, as if you've stepped outside yourself and seen your reflection in another body. Now imagine that feeling intensifying 100-fold when that identical face doesn't belong to someone alive today, but to a person who lived and died centuries ago. At that point, it's no longer coincidence. It becomes a mystery that defies logic and challenges the laws of nature. Could there be a hidden bloodline erased by time? Or are we witnessing a fracture in reality, a strange echo where remarkable souls somehow return? Tonight, we dive deep into that mystery together. We'll unlock long-sealed archives and uncover the astonishing stories of 13 Black celebrities whose faces mirror figures from a distant past. What we reveal may be more shocking than anything you expect. So take a deep breath. Our journey begins now. Tupac Shakur, the rebel reborn, twice. During a 2015 restoration of a long-forgotten historic site, workers uncovered a primitive metal photograph that stunned forensic historians. The image revealed a face so flawlessly preserved after more than 150 years that experts were left speechless. Staring back from 1868 was a man who looked exactly like Tupac Shakur, a mirror image of the modern Black icon frozen in time. The squared, defiant jaw, the full proud lips, the eyes, burning with an unmistakable fire and depth of spirit. Every detail, from the angle of the brow to the precise facial contours, aligned perfectly with the rapper who would rise to fame in the 1990s. At first, specialists dismissed it as an elaborate time travel hoax. But carbon analysis of the metal plate erased all doubt. This photograph was authentic, captured in an era when digital manipulation was beyond imagination. Archived fragments housed at Harlem's Schomburg Center identified the man as Silas Shadow Montgomery, a policy banker operating within the underground numbers empire of Sugar Hill during the 1930s. This shadow economy served as a lifeline for Black communities crushed by the Great Depression. Silas was known for his silence, his precision, and the way he surveyed his empire from street corners like an uncrowned king. The mystery deepened under laser magnification of the photograph. On his pinky finger gleamed a black onyx ring engraved with a snarling panther, no mere ornament, but the sigil of the Night Panthers, a clandestine society sworn to protect their bloodline and their people at any cost. Tracing old prison records led historians to a Savannah jail, where another man bearing the same face, Silas Thorne, a known rebel, had once been held. On a storm-lashed night in 1870, he vanished from a locked solitary cell without explanation. Exactly 103 years later, in 1971, Tupac Shakur was born. He inherited not only the same face, but the same revolutionary spirit, raised within Black Panther ideology and destined to become the most powerful voice of resistance in modern music. The link between a rebel who disappeared in 1870 and an icon born in 1971 forms a cycle of destiny too precise to ignore. Was Tupac Shakur truly a man of his own era, or the final chapter of Silas Thorne's journey, delayed by a century, finally reaching its moment? Queen Latifah, the royal bridge. In an entertainment industry ruled by rigid molds, Queen Latifah rose as an uncrowned sovereign, a woman who shattered long-standing stereotypes of beauty, power, and submission for Black women. But her regal presence didn't appear overnight. It feels inherited, as if passed down from a brilliant spirit nearly a century ago. Our story drifts back to Harlem in 1935, amid whispered cultural salons and hidden rooms where ideas sparked revolutions. There lived Beatrice Bessie Vance, known among the intelligentsia as the scholar of the blues. She didn't merely sing about sorrow, she studied it. Beatrice immersed herself in the history of African matriarchal tribes, fascinated by how women ruled bloodlines, carried wisdom, and commanded entire communities. She possessed a face both delicate and authoritative, strikingly reminiscent of Queen Latifah herself, from the knowing eyes to a presence that could silence any room. The mystery deepened in 1988. During the demolition of an old apartment in Harlem's historic Sugar Hill district, workers uncovered an amber leather trunk concealed behind a false wall. Inside lay a relic frozen in time, A black velvet coat, richly embroidered with gold tribal patterns. It was the exact coat Beatrice wore in the last known photograph taken of her. Then came the coincidence that defied logic. That same coat somehow resurfaced in a vintage shop and caught the attention of Queen Latifah's stylist. In 1989, Latifah stepped onto an award stage wearing the very coat, black velvet glowing with gold tribal thread. To those who knew Harlem's history, it was more than fashion. It felt like Beatrice Vance had returned, alive, breathing, present. Legend says the first time Latifah wore the coat, she sat down and wrote Ladies First in just 10 minutes. Even more chilling, the song's structure and message mirrored the unfinished final lines of Beatrice's 1940 manuscript with uncanny precision. So the question lingers. Was that coat more than cloth? Was it a bridge? One that allowed Beatrice Vance to fulfill her oath of queens through Queen Latifah? Ice Cube, the inherited language of resistance. Ice Cube and Elias Thorne. History teaches us that anger is rarely just an emotion. It can be a lineage, carried quietly in the blood of a people who refuse to bend. Our story reaches back to Savannah, Georgia, in 1880, when the crushing grip of Jim Crow laws dictated every aspect of black life. In that silence, one name echoed louder than the rest: Elias Thorne. To the authorities, he was a menace on paper, a shadow in criminal ledgers, charged with inciting riots and poisoning the public with anti-government ideas. But Elias's real offense was courage. He secretly trained his community in self-defense, daring them to stand upright in a world designed to keep them bowed. A rare mugshot from 1880 freezes him just before imprisonment, jaw set, eyes blazing with defiance, a glare so unflinching it reportedly rattled the guards themselves. That same look would resurface a century later on the face of a rap revolutionary, Ice Cube. The clenched jaw. The merciless stare. It's as if the same man is staring back at us from two different centuries. Yet the connection runs deeper than bone structure. It lives in the shared spirit of rebellion. In 1880, Elias Thorne was condemned for writing a pamphlet titled Defying Unjust Laws. Exactly 100 years later, Ice Cube detonated a global anthem with "Fuck the Police." The parallel is chilling. It suggests a DNA of resistance, an unbroken fire passed down intact, untouched by time, refusing to be silenced. Eddie Murphy. The mask of tragedy. Eddie Murphy and Jack Leroy. In the shadowed alleys of New Orleans' French Quarter, old-timers still whisper about a performer who could bend his voice like smoke and flash a smile bright enough to warm the coldest speakeasy. His name was Jack Leroy, the legendary jester of the 1920s. He vanished from the history books decades ago, fading into myth until a long-buried secret surfaced by chance. A forgotten playbill from the Lyric Theatre was uncovered in the dust of an ancient French library. Time-stained and yellowed, the paper bore a face that seemed impossibly alive. Jack Leroy stared back with unnerving clarity. But it was his smile that stopped the breath, a wide, radiant grin so hypnotic audiences once claimed it could swallow their sorrow whole. When a young Eddie Murphy exploded onto screens in the 1980s, the resemblance was shocking, almost supernatural. Yet the connection ran deeper than appearance alone. As Murphy's fame soared, elderly residents of New Orleans, those who had witnessed Jack Leroy perform in their youth, felt a chill of recognition. They swore that every mischievous wink, every sharp burst of laughter, even the slight tilt of the head, was a perfect echo of the long-lost jester. A haunting question began to rise from the shadows of history. Is genius truly born? Or is it a role a restless soul returns to play for one more unforgettable encore? Perhaps Eddie Murphy's legendary smile was never entirely his own. Maybe it is the same theatrical mask Jack Leroy left behind on the stage of time, waiting 60 years for the right face to bring it back to life. In the grand theater of existence, the curtain, it seems, never truly falls. Denzel Washington. The Time Thief. Denzel Washington and Darius Vane. In the natural order of life, time is a ruthless ruler, sparing no one's beauty or strength. Yet somewhere in the quiet corners of Richmond, Virginia, an impossible exception appears to have survived the centuries. This story begins behind a dust-streaked mirror in a forgotten antique shop, where a small oil-on-wood portrait was discovered by chance. Painted in 1750, the man staring back from the canvas was known as Darius Vane. Darius was a stoic shipwright forged under the brutal discipline of the colonial era. Life was harsh, labor unforgiving, yet he was admired for his precise craftsmanship and feared for something far stranger. Over 4 decades of backbreaking work, witnesses swore Darius did not age a single day. His face remained unchanged as seasons passed and men around him grew old and frail. When historians placed this portrait beside the face of Denzel Washington, born in 1954, still commanding screens in 2025, they were stunned into silence. Nearly 275 years apart, yet the resemblance was flawless. The same structure, the same intensity, the same piercing gaze. It was as if time itself had simply stepped aside. But the connection runs deeper than appearance. Darius was defined by discipline and restraint. Denzel embodies quiet authority and inner power. Both share an eerie mastery over time, an ageless presence that defies explanation. In 1750, neighbors whispered of a secret Darius carried as the world aged around him. Today, the same question echoes about Denzel Washington. Is it possible that some men do not grow old at all, only shed their names and continue walking through history unseen? Lawrence Fishburne. The architecture of command. In the world of cinema, Lawrence Fishburne stands as a symbol of unshakable authority. There is an instinctive calm that settles in whenever his face fills the screen. A quiet assurance, the unmistakable presence of a man born to lead. He carries the spirit of a guardian, as if he stepped straight out of history's most heroic chapters. Yet it raises a haunting question. Is leadership forged through discipline and experience, or is it written into one's identity long before birth? The answer may be buried deep in time, where past and present collide in ways that defy logic. It began with a worn military manual from 1870, uncovered in the National Archives. Tucked inside was a metal photograph of Captain Marcus Freeman, a Civil War-era soldier who defended Washington, D.C. in 1868. When researchers examined the image, the room fell silent. One voice finally broke the tension in disbelief. "My God, that's Lawrence Fishburne." Every detail aligned with eerie precision. The squared, immovable jaw, the deep-set eyes heavy with command. The resemblance was so exact it felt impossible. Those present recall Fishburne staring at the photograph for a long moment, saying nothing, before reaching out to gently touch the eyes in the image. He felt no fear, only a strange, profound stirring, as if he were looking at himself from another lifetime. Experts later confirmed the match was flawless, yet the truth made it even more astonishing. The two men share no blood, no lineage, no connection at all. Just a breathtaking coincidence of creation. Captain Freeman once carried that same dignified presence to protect his community in the aftermath of the Civil War. Today, Lawrence Fishburne channels that identical aura to inspire millions on the silver screen. This uncanny convergence serves as a reminder that time may move forward, but the faces of courage, leadership, and compassion always find their way back. Will Smith, the million-dollar smile. In the glow of Hollywood, Will Smith has always stood apart, powered by a grin so bright it radiates hope, optimism, and effortless charm, winning over millions around the world. But few people know that this iconic smile may have echoed through history long before Will ever stepped onto a red carpet. Our story rewinds to Cincinnati in 1905, a time brimming with ambition and possibility. Amid Ohio's grand estates rose Bennett Wright, a striking emblem of Black excellence. A trailblazing real estate broker and transportation pioneer, Bennett was famous for sealing million-dollar deals with the same unstoppable weapon, a golden smile that opened doors and inspired trust. This forgotten connection stunned the modern world when facial recognition technology matched a century-old family portrait of Bennett to Will Smith himself. In the photograph, Bennett stands proudly beside a cutting-edge carriage, his familiar eyes and ears glowing with the same boundless optimism that would one day define a global superstar. When the image was shown to Will, the room didn't fall silent with shock. It burst alive with laughter. Will's face lit up with pure, infectious amazement as he turned the fragile photo in his hands, shaking his head at the impossible resemblance. "This is unbelievable," he said with genuine joy. "It's like looking at myself from another lifetime, a mirror reaching across a century, winking back at me, reminding me to keep that same positive energy alive for the world today." Tracy Morgan. Laughter that echoes through time. If joy had a roadmap, Tracy Morgan's unmistakable grin might trace its origins back to Pennsylvania nearly 170 years ago. After a catastrophic accident in 2014 left him hovering between life and death, Tracy returned not just alive, but transformed, armed with gratitude, resilience, and a renewed belief that laughter can heal what pain cannot. Yet that unbreakable spirit may not be his alone. It may be an inheritance, carried forward from a forgotten chapter of history. Deep inside the brittle pages of an old Philadelphia family journal, historians uncovered a silver-plated photograph of a man named Thomas Jenkins. In 1850, Thomas wasn't famous, but he was unforgettable. A roaming storyteller known as Ticklish, he traveled the Underground Railroad, using humor to soothe fear, restore hope, and lighten the heavy hearts of those fleeing toward freedom. His jokes weren't just entertainment, they were survival. When Thomas Jenkins' image is placed beside Tracy Morgan's today, the resemblance is chilling. The same wide, animated eyes. The same radiant, defiant smile. Two faces mirroring each other across nearly 2 centuries. It leaves an unsettling question hanging in the air. Do we carry echoes of those who came before us? And when Tracy Morgan commands the stage today, could it be that Ticklish Thomas is looking out through those eyes, finishing the song of joy he began back in the 1850s? John Legend. The Curse of the Serenade. John Legend and Silas Sterling. Before we turn the next page of this story, consider one haunting question. Can the voice we trust to sing of love and grace also be the vessel of a century-old secret, one born not to heal hearts, but to mark betrayal? To the world, John Legend stands as a symbol of elegance and virtue, an Ivy League artist whose music stitched together a fractured generation. His songs feel timeless, pure, almost sacred. Yet far beyond the stage lights, a forgotten riddle lay buried in the shadows of Louisiana, 1892. There, a rogue buffalo soldier named Silas Sterling carved a final, cryptic melody into the stone wall of a prison cell before disappearing into history. The tune, later called the Blood Moon Serenade, was never meant for romance. It was a code, a signal whispered through music, guiding movement under cover of darkness. For more than a century, the melody slept in silence, until modern musicologists uncovered a chilling truth. The notes matched, measure for measure, the structure of John Legend's All of Me. One song became a global anthem of devotion. The other was once a warning, a call to act in the dead of night. So we are left to wonder, was John Legend's life a cosmic act of redemption, unknowingly transforming a cursed melody into a hymn of love? Or did Silas Sterling simply find the perfect voice to carry his song into the next century, reborn, unresolved, and still echoing? Danny Glover. The Silent Echo. Danny Glover and Lucas Miller. Consider this carefully. Is it possible for a soul to spend an entire lifetime trying to scrub blood from hands that belonged to another century? The story begins with a heart-stopping discovery inside a New Orleans archive. In 1870 tintype photographs, a historian suddenly froze. Staring back from the silvered plate was a face unmistakably familiar, the near-perfect double of Danny Glover. Historical records identified the man as Sergeant Lucas Miller, a complicated figure swallowed by the violent shadows of the Reconstruction era. He carried the same heavy, world-weary brow and those deep-set, soulful eyes that have become Glover's signature. Every detail, from the strong square jaw to the precise curve of the cheekbones, appeared as if time itself had traced Miller's face forward and etched it onto Glover's features more than a century later. Declassified municipal ledgers from post-war New Orleans revealed a darker truth. Beneath his borrowed badge of authority, Miller allegedly worked as a regulator, a silent enforcer listed in private syndicate payrolls, tasked with eliminating black leaders who dared to fight for their newly won freedoms. His name moved through history like a whispered threat, earning him the grim reputation of a merciless blade in the old city's underworld. The deepest mystery surfaced with the discovery of Miller's suicide note, found in a prison cell. Its final line read simply, "I'm too old for this." Why would the universe preserve the exact face of a man remembered for cruelty and violence, and then gift it to one of the most beloved humanitarians of our time? When Danny Glover was shown the image, he didn't recoil. He reached out, touched the frame with trembling fingers, and quietly said, "I see a sadness I've carried my whole life without knowing why. If this man is who I was, I owe him a life of kindness." Tyler, the creator, the architect of color, a man of vibrant suits, eccentric hats, and fearless self-expression. In today's music scene, Tyler, the creator, stands as a walking rebellion, an artist who bends rules, shatters norms, and builds an identity entirely his own. But what few could ever imagine is that this same wild, colorful spirit may have lived before, nearly 2 centuries ago. The revelation surfaced during a routine inventory by historians at the Society of Antiquaries of London. Hidden inside a sealed oak chest at a long-forgotten estate was a rare 1850 daguerreotype, one of the earliest forms of photography etched in silver. When the image was revealed, the room froze. The resemblance wasn't casual. It was unsettling, almost impossible. This was no look-alike. It was a near-perfect anatomical match. The exact distance between the pupils, carrying that same glint of mischievous genius. The broad, distinctive palate. The defiant, unmistakable tilt of the head. It felt as though the same restless soul was staring back through time, simply dressed in the fashion of another era. A full investigation followed. Archival documents and 19th-century New England artist registries identified the man as Barnaby Finch, a freelance illustrator dismissed by Victorian critics for his excessive use of color, too bold, too loud, too rebellious for his time. As modern restoration brought the portrait into sharper focus, silence fell across the room. They weren't looking at a forgotten soldier or politician. They were staring at Tyler himself. Biometric scanning confirmed it. Millimeter-level precision in pupil spacing, jaw width, and cranial structure. When Tyler was finally shown the image during an art history interview, he was left speechless before bursting into laughter and awe. "Look at this," he said. "He loves strange hats and bright colors just like me." There was no bloodline, no shared ancestry, just an eerie coincidence of nature, a reminder that creativity reincarnates. As if the universe refuses to let the world stay gray. In every generation, a guardian of color returns, born to disrupt, to provoke, and to paint courage and imagination across time itself. Ludacris, the undisputed king of Auburn Avenue. In the very heart of Atlanta, along the weathered bricks of historic Auburn Avenue, Ludacris once stood frozen in disbelief. Inside J.W. Moore House, surrounded by artifacts freshly pulled from the city's buried past, his breath caught. His eyes locked onto a faded silver plate photograph dated 1890. Staring back at him was a man who looked impossibly familiar. The same piercing, calculating eyes. The same unmistakable mustache. A face that seemed to echo his own across time. The man was J.W. Morehouse, a name long erased from Southern memory, yet once feared and revered on the very streets Ludacris now calls home. For more than a century, Morehouse's legacy lay dormant, swallowed by history, until a demolition crew cracked through a sealed basement wall on Auburn Avenue. Hidden behind the brickwork sat a small tin box, untouched, waiting. Inside were ledgers detailing a vast underground empire and one pristine portrait that refused to fade. In 1890, Morehouse lived in plain sight as an upscale barber. But beneath the scent of bay rum and polished mirrors, he ruled Atlanta's secret speakeasies, mastering the hustle long before the word existed. The resemblance between the modern superstar and the 19th century kingpin sent chills through everyone who witnessed it. Every detail aligned, the rigid jawline, the sharp cheekbones, the commanding posture. Yet it wasn't just physical. It was the presence. The unmistakable aura of power. Both men carried the cold, confident stare of strategists, men who dominate rooms without speaking a word. It felt less like coincidence and more like resurrection. As if Morehouse never truly vanished into old Atlanta's shadows, but simply waited 100 years to return, reborn beneath the blinding lights of global fame. And so the question lingers, do the men who truly own the soul of a city ever really leave? Or do they wait patiently in the dark until the world is finally ready for them to reclaim the throne they never surrendered? Samuel L. Jackson. The Prophecy of Pulp Fiction. And a man named Obadiah King. In the world of cinema, few voices hit like Samuel L. Jackson's. That thunderous, commanding delivery. The kind that freezes a room the moment he speaks, especially when he unleashes those unforgettable lines in Pulp Fiction. Most people believe that monologue was born on a Hollywood page in 1994. But a chilling discovery in the American South suggests a far stranger origin. It starts in New Orleans, buried deep inside a forgotten police file dated 1888. Inside, a faded graphite sketch of a man known as Obadiah King. In his time, locals called him the Mad Prophet, a preacher whose Sunday sermons were said to shake trees and rattle souls. And when you look at his face, it's impossible to ignore. The sharp brow, the deep creases, that fierce, righteous stare. He doesn't look like a stranger. He looks exactly like Samuel L. Jackson. But the real mystery isn't the face. It's the words. Historians later uncovered fragile notes believed to be King's final sermon, recorded more than 130 years ago. On a suffocating Louisiana night, witnesses claimed they heard him shout, "The path of the righteous is surrounded on all sides by the injustice of the selfish." Stop and think about that. Those words don't appear anywhere in the traditional Bible. They were supposedly written by a screenwriter nearly a century later. So how could a rural preacher in 1888 deliver the same line, long before Hollywood, before film, before Pulp Fiction ever existed? It raises a haunting question. Was that speech ever truly written at all? Or did it exist first as something else? An idea, a voice, a soul, waiting in the Louisiana wind for over 100 years until the right man with the right voice could bring it back to life? The case file is closed, but the silence it leaves behind is loud. We like to think of history as a straight line, but maybe it's a mirror, reflecting the same soul again and again, across time, until the moment finally feels right. Coincidence? Or a sign that no story ever truly ends? If mysteries like this fascinate you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because there are still dark corners of Hollywood history waiting to be uncovered.